Hey guys, Alex Torelli, welcome back. Hand of the week. Loving these videos, man. Good job with y'all's questions. Good stuff. Today's question comes from Sam San Antonio, who asks, he writes actually, when you bet big on a bluff, what's going through your mind to calm your nerves and your heart? Especially when your opponents just tank and stare. In other words, do you think of anything specific? I personally try and psych myself into thinking I have the nuts prior to my bet, my big bluff. Goes on to say, I don't bet big on a bluff often, maybe once or twice a session. So I just thought you might have some wisdom you could share. Good job, Sam. You came to the right place, and I hope this helps. I think it's going to. So, Sam, first things first. If you are having nerves and your heart is pounding, and you know that feeling when you're in anticipation, you don't really know what's going to happen, and you see the money in the pot, it's really big, they're thinking they almost folded, you're really close, and you can feel your heart just pounding through your chest, and you're like, shit, I hope he doesn't notice. Damn, man, enjoy that shit. That's like the most exciting part of poker, when you that's why you play, whether you like it or not. That it's that high that keeps you coming back for more. When you that scared uncertainty, when you don't know what's going to happen, if you're going to win or lose the money in the middle, you're thinking about how many iPods could I buy with that money, or whatever it is you're thinking about. And that prolongated time, it feels like time is stopped, right? And you could just sit there and you could recount every single motion that the guy does. And you know every little minutia of detail that's happening because you're so focused, you're so alive in that moment. And the reason that you could recall every time that happens, and you can so predictably feel that emotion again, if I asked you to describe that sensation in that period of waiting, is because you are alive, you are alert, you're awake. That is the time when you are the most living. You're living. If I asked you to tell me, what you saw at the grocery store yesterday, you have no idea, because you're kind of you're on robotic mode. You're just going through, exciting shit isn't happening. But when you're waiting for that bluff to happen, man, that's good stuff. So don't try and suppress that urge. Don't try and I want to calm my nerves, I don't want to feel anything, because, man, that's why you play poker. So that's the first thing I would say. Have a glass of wine, enjoy that. Now this is a big if here. If that fear that you could be feeling, right, is affecting your ability to make those bluffs, to make those plays, that's another story. So I'm going to address that here in case you are experiencing that, and I think you might be. If not, I'm pretty sure others are. It's something I experience a lot in with my students. They are afraid to make the plays they know they should. So, especially because you say you only do this once or twice a session, maybe it's something you're struggling with. If so, you might be feeling this because you are playing too high. Okay, so now you need to check yourself. Am I playing with too much money? Identify the next time you're in that spot, okay? And try to be present and go through what you are thinking, or recall, if you can recall, fine, what you were thinking when you were faced with that big decision, okay? If the money crossed your mind, if you thought something along the lines of, I think I should do this, I know this is the right play, I know I should go all in, but, what are they going to think? What are this, the money, the that, the this? Chances are you might be playing too big of a game. And I know the situations are rare in which, the reason why so many of us don't catch this is the situations are rare, especially if you're playing live poker. They don't happen often in which you are faced with a decision that really challenges your comfort zone, right? You fold for a couple hours, you play hands for a couple hours, you bet the flop, and usually they fold. Nothing really challenges all the money you're risking. But that is the test of truth, okay? Because if you can't face that challenge and your head isn't straight, then you are not going to be in the position to play your best poker. And those are the decisions, ironically, those are the decisions that are the most important to make correctly, because they are for the most amount of money. So you really need to get real with those big decisions, because those are where the money and the EV and the equity lie. Now, try moving down. Do this as an exercise, even if you think you're comfortable with the money you're risking, because you are going to experience a different reality when you move down. Maybe that will tell you something about the game that you were playing before. Maybe you're going to notice that you thrive more in a situation where you're overly comfortable with the money you're risking. I personally find that to be my truth. When I play a game that's one game below the game I normally play, my confidence goes up. I am much more indifferent to the money. I play much better. And maybe that's a sign that you need to be playing that game. And I think everybody feels the same way. When you're playing a game that's one level higher than you normally play, you're going to be a little more intimidated perhaps, and you've probably experienced that. So check in with yourself there. Now, going on to this guy's stare, especially when they just think and stare, you pointed that out specifically, so I want to point that out specifically. At the very least, this means that you put them to a tough decision, right? So, of course, what I said first still applies. Enjoy that kind of time, that ambiguity, but take some pride. Allow yourself to feel proud that you stumped someone, right? If you say, what's 2 plus 2? I say 4. If your opponent snap calls your bluff, of course they didn't make you wait with that anticipation that in that moment could feel a little bit uncomfortable. But the fact that he is thinking for so long means that you stumped him. He doesn't really know what to do. So even if he does make the correct decision, he only has 2 decisions to make. I mean, a monkey can make the correct decision half the time. It's 50-50, for God's sake, whether he should call or fold. So take comfort in the fact that you made the right decisions, because decisions are what make you money. So the fact that he is confused is a positive thing. That's a good thing. So allow yourself to be proud. Okay? And when he snap calls you, then you really need to check in with yourself, because it means that he just has you figured out. Now, I like what you said about, go on to say, I psych myself out into thinking I have the nuts. That's good. That's good. Maybe you will give off a reverse sort of sensation, a reverse sort of tell. But you could take that to a physical level, right? Because he's looking at you, he's looking for something physical, right? He's trying to pick up on that emotion. He's trying to pick up on that energy that you're putting off. But you should be doing something physical that you would do, or more importantly, doesn't really matter what you would do, what he thinks you would do, right? Let's go a level higher. If you were bluffing. Okay, so maybe he caught you bluffing before. Maybe you verbally ask him, hey, why'd you bluff? Why did you catch me? Did I do something? And maybe he gives you a little signal. Maybe you give that to him later. You give it to someone else. You notice something in your own game that you're doing, and you do that to make yourself look weak physically, whatever it is. It could be a lot of different things. So that's something to point out specifically. The last thing I will say is you talked about what goes through your mind specifically before you make that bluff. So let's go back to that, because that's really the crux of this whole thing. Before you make a bluff, I want you to get in the habit of analyzing the hand. Ask yourself, especially in the moments of pressure. It's going to be harder to do because when you feel pressure, it's harder to make the correct decision, obviously. But get into the habit in the small hands of asking yourself, what is the correct play here? Okay, you could start implementing this today, like immediately, like pre-flop. Is it correct here to fold or raise? It's correct to fold most of the time, so you fold. It's trivial, but starting with trivial helps it become a habit when it's not trivial, right? Because habits are something that you do unconsciously. They are habits. So make it a habit, and then it'll be a habit all the time. So when push comes to shove and you need this, asking yourself what will be the correct play here will be easier for you to implement. Now, the point of doing that is to let that be your guide, okay? So it will take the pressure off. It will take the pressure off the money and help you stay focused, which could be your struggle, the money, that you are uncomfortable making that big bluff, and will let you stay focused on what matters most, which is making good decisions. So that's it, man. Sam, you're good to go. Put this stuff into action. Let me know how it goes. See you next time. Subscribe to the blog. Respond to the email. Let me know your questions, because I'm answering them here in videos. Peace.